Okie doke, right, Act 2, Scene 2. Now, again, contextually, this is after the murder of Duncan. Okay, so we do have a little bit of a time gap. This happens off stage, okay? Now, of course, if you wanted to, if you were a director, you could choose to show it. Some people do, but it is not in Shakespeare's play, okay? It's not in the play. There is no scene that's missing where that happens, okay? So Lady Macbeth is currently, at this point in time, she's waiting. So she's waiting and she's worrying. What might she be worrying about? Yep. Macbeth not doing it, right? So she's worried that he will bail out because she knows that he has a history of going back on his word. So she's worrying about the success of it, right? Because if it goes wrong, as we know with Cawdor, what happens to people that are traitors? They are executed. So we know what happens if it goes wrong. Okay, Lady Macbeth, please. Nice and loud.
That which hath made them drunk, hath made me bold, which hath quenched them, hath given me fire. Hark, peace! It was the owl that shrieked, the fatal bell, which gives the stern good night. He is about. The doors are open, and the
surfeited. So let's just do that one quickly. So if you're surfeited, it means that you're full. Grooms. The grooms are the guards. Yeah, go on.
Do mock their chains with snores. I have drugged their possets. The death and nature do contented about them, whether they live or die.
Excellent. Well read. So she's on her own and she's waiting, and she's kind of buzzed, right? She's kind of hyped up. So it's like that which has made them drunk have made me bold. So she's been boozing. She's been drinking wine, right? So the wine that's made the guards drunk has made her bold, right? She's excited because it's a thrill. Will he do it? Will he not do it? Are they going to get away with it? They're not going to get away with it, right? She's kind of buzzing on adrenaline. What have quenched them have given me fire, right? So she feels kind of, again, like excited. Hark, peace! So she hears a noise. What's the noise? Oh, it's an owl. So it's very quiet. It's like, what? Oh, it's an owl. So she's kind of on edge, right? She's on edge, she's excited. The fatal bell which gives the sternest good night. He is about it. Who is he? Macbeth. What is it? Murder, right? He is about it. He's doing the murder. It's happening right now, right? But notice again, she doesn't say murder. They're always a little bit vague on that. The doors are open and the surfeited grooms do mock their charge with snores. So the guards are asleep. I have drugged their cups. I have drugged their possets, that death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die. So there's an idea here that right now they're going to be framed for this, but also that they appear dead. They're in such a deep sleep that they almost appear completely dead. So she's waiting to come back, and then he comes back. Who's there? What? Huh?
Alack, I am afraid they have
awakened. They have awaked, right?
And 'tis not done. The attempt and not the deed. Confound us. Hark, I laid their daggers already. He could not listen. He had not resembled my father as he slept. I had done it.
Excellent. Right. So see a little bit again. There's an anxiety here. So again, she's kind of excited. She's kind of anxious. So oh my God, what's happened? She hears her husband yell. What? Ah, who's there? You right? She hears her husband shout. What's up? Tell me, what's up? You right? She hears her husband shout and she's worried it's gone wrong, right? I'm afraid they've awaked. Who's awaked? The guards, right? And it is not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. So even just attempting to do the murder, right? It's a bit like people. Even if I tried to kill somebody and I didn't and I failed, I'd still be sent to prison for attempted murder. So the idea is that even trying to do it is the thing that will undo them, right? Then she says, there's no way he could have done it wrong. I laid the daggers there. He could not miss them. Now, this line I find really interesting, right? This kind of gives a sense about her psychology. She says, if he had not resembled my father as he slept, I'd have done it. So she says, she gives a bit of an excuse. So she goes along, she drugs the guards, and she's like, if he didn't look like my dad, I'd have killed him myself. But of course, what she makes the point is that killing someone is not easy, right? It's hard to kill a person because it's a human being, right? Now again, the word father is really important because, as we mentioned previously, this is also a word we use for king. So the idea is that if you are the king, you are the father of all people. So she gives this excuse. I would have done it myself, but he looked too much like my dad, so I didn't do it. But when Macbeth comes back with excuses, she's not at all happy to listen to them. Enter Macbeth. You're excited to see me, Rosa. Enter Macbeth. My husband. I have done the deed. Right? It's done. Again, notice he doesn't say murder. He says the deed. It's like he can't say it. Right? I have done the deed. Notice this line here. There is no joy at all. There is no we've done it. There's no enthusiasm. I have done the deed. I have done the deed. It is done. It cannot be undone. It is done. We have started this route now. Did thou not hear a noise?
I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry. Did not you speak?
When?
Now.
So notice how paranoid he is, right? So did thou hear a noise? So he's very paranoid. Now, of course, he's just murdered the king, so it makes sense to be paranoid. But he asks a lot of questions. When? Did you hear a noise? Yeah, an owl and a cricket. Did you speak? When? Now. So there's a little bit of tension going on at this point. Turn the page, please. As I descended. Oh wait, we'll move on. So who's my second lady, Macbeth? Who's number 2? Noah. As I descended. Hark! Who lies in the second chamber? So the second chamber is the next door bedroom. Who's Donalbain? Do you remember this? Any guess who Donalbain is? Donalbain is Duncan's second son. So his first son is Malcolm. Donalbain is his second son. So he's got an heir and a spare, right? He's got an heir and a spare, like William and Harry, right? Malcolm and Donalbain. Who's in the bedroom next door to Duncan? It's Donalbain. This is a sorry sight. Now here, it's not very clear from the play, but he's talking about his hands. So he looks at his hands and he just sees blood, right? But not any old blood, the king's blood, right? So his hands are bloody. Now there's a lot in this play, a very strong motif about blood, hands and blood, right? Hands always symbolise action and deeds, right? Like being handy, to do something. Blood is life, right? To be caught red-handed is to be caught with blood on your hands, as in you've done the crime. So he looks at his hands and he goes, this is a sorry sight. Okay, now this is where, in terms of this scene, how two people can see the exact same thing, totally opposite. So he looks at his hands and he sees blood. When she looks at his hands, she says, you're a fool, right? It's foolish to think that's a sorry sight because the blood, for her, equals success. The blood for him equals guilt. So she thinks, yes, it's done. The blood is a good symbol. He thinks, oh my God, the blood is on my hands. You're a fool. A foolish thought to say a bloody sight. There's one did laugh in sleep. One cried, murder! That they did wake each other. I stood and heard them. but they did say their prayers and address them again to sleep. So he's hearing voices, right? He's hearing voices now, and the voice is shouting, murder! He's like, I heard it. Someone shouted, murder! Did anyone actually shout murder? No. He's hearing it in his mind. But his guilty conscience is creating voices. So he says, I heard it. He says, it was Donalbain. I heard Donalbain shout murder. Then they said prayers, then went back to sleep. Ready? One cried, God bless us, and amen the other, as they had seen me with these hangman's hands. Listening their fear, I could not say amen when they did say God bless us. So he hears this as well. So he hears murder, and he hears, again, he's hearing voices. So he says the voices did a prayer, and then they said amen. And he says, I tried to say amen, and I couldn't say it. What does amen mean? What does it mean?
You show your way, God.
Yeah. So amen is the thing you say after a prayer, which is almost like a connection with God. So after prayer, to link with God. So he says, I heard these people, because I was doing the murder, I heard someone shout murder, then I heard them say God bless us and amen, and I tried to say amen, I couldn't. It wouldn't come out. So of course what he's scared of now is that he has done something so bad, so blasphemous, that he can't, he's lost his link with God. He can't even say the word. Right? Now of course, this behaviour is the behaviour of somebody who is suffering from trauma. Okay? So let's not imagine for a second this is normal behaviour. So this is his trauma. Okay? He also describes his hands as hangman's hands, which is a nice quotation. So a hangman is a murderer, right? The person who hangs a person. Lady Macbeth.
Consider it not so.
Yeah, so she's trying to sort of calm him down, right? Don't think about it. So consider it not so deeply. So don't think about it. In her mind, it's done. It's like, you did it. The hard part was the murder. It's done. Don't worry about it. But for him, of course, the worry begins because of the crime that he's done. But wherefore could I not pronounce amen? I had the most need of blessing. Amen stuck in my throat. It's a nice metaphor, isn't it? Can't say it. Wherefore, by the way, in Shakespeare is always, it actually means why. So why can I not say amen? Right? What's happened to me?
But these deeds must not be thought after these ways, so not make us mad.
Yeah. They will make us mad. If you think like this, you will turn mad. So this, of course, is really good foreshadowing, because they both go mad by the end, as we know. So these deeds must not be thought after these ways. So this is almost like a warning to him, right? If you can't free your mind of what you've done, you will go crazy. Now we know, from a modern perspective, that people who go through trauma, people who go to war and see terrible things, when they come back from it, they can't get out of their minds, and that's what causes them mental health issues. He has the exact same issue. Methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep, the innocent sleep. Sleep that knits up the ravelled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life. Sore labour's bath, balm of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast. Now this is kind of amazing, right? Now when people say Shakespeare is a genius, this is kind of an example of where that comes from, because what he talks about here is what sleep does. Now I don't know if you know this, right? But we still do not know scientifically why human beings sleep. We don't understand it. What we do know is that when you go to sleep every day, that all of your things that you experience in the day when you sleep at night, they get turned into memory, or your mind almost like cleans itself of the day. So it's a little bit like resetting a computer. All the bugs of the day get cleared away. And what Shakespeare does is he kind of mentions this, right? So he says, Macbeth has murdered sleep. Now the reason why he says this is because he kills Duncan in his sleep. Okay? Sleep is supposed to be safe. Now, if I told you that every night you went to sleep, somebody might come and murder you, do you think you'd sleep particularly well? This is what he does to himself. Because he kills the king in the king's sleep, Macbeth no longer feels comfortable sleeping. And one of the theories about this play is that after this day he never sleeps again. That he suffers from insomnia. Because he's so scared of being murdered in his sleep, because he murdered the king in his sleep, that he can't sleep. So he suffers badly because he can't have that experience of sleeping. It says here, this is what sleep does, right? I'm going to circle some words. I want you to do the same as me, please. It knits up the ravelled sleeve of care. So if your sleeve becomes unravelled in the day, what does sleep do? It fixes it. It knits it back up again. It repairs the damage of the day. The death of each day's life, sore labour's bath. So if your day is labour is work. So yeah, the bath is the soothing bit, right? The balm of hurt minds. Great nature's second course. Okay? Chief nourisher. So all of these words here, balm and nourisher and knit and bath, these are all words of comfort and repair. And he says that is what I have murdered. I have murdered that for myself. I will never be able to sleep again. I will never be able to sleep again because I have killed the king in his sleep. Okay, so this is all a description of sleep. Okay. Right, thank you. Now, Sarah, do you want to take over this, Lady Macbeth? So she's baffled, right? He's like, sleep, great need. Like, imagine if someone's come back, he's covered in blood, and he's like, I've murdered sleep, I've murdered sleep. Sleep's great care, the bath of the nourishing life of the bath. Great nature, second course. She's a bit like side-eye, right? What? What are you talking about? Still it cried, sleep no more, to all the house. Glamis hath murdered sleep, and therefore Cawdor shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more. Right? Nobody says this, but notice he quotes it, right? So these are the voices that he hears, right? So he's already going mad. Macbeth shall sleep no more. Glamis hath murdered sleep, and therefore Cawdor shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more. She's a bit like, okay. Okay. Sorry? Very good, right? So now again, he's reacting emotionally about this, right? Shall sleep no more. She's very logical. Who said that, right? Who? So she's trying to apply, now what I like is she's trying to apply logic to a situation that's very emotional. So he's like, oh my God, and she's like, who said that? No one said it. You're crazy, you're mad, right? You unbend your noble strength, right? You're embarrassing yourself to think so brain sickly of things, right? You're embarrassing yourself, right? She goes back to her old trick of be a man, right? Be a man. Now that worked the first time, doesn't work anymore, right? Because he realises that being a man doesn't always necessarily be a good thing, right? To think so brain sickly. Get some water and wash this filthy witness. Now, of course, remember the blood, of course, here is evidence. It's evidence of the crime. So wash your hands clean. Problem! Why did you bring the daggers from the place? Idiot! Idiot! They're supposed to stay there because they are the framing of the guards, right? They must lie there. Go carry them and smear the sleepy grooms with blood. So you've got to frame the guards. Okay? He refuses. I'll go no more. I am afraid to look on what I have done. Look on it again, I dare not. So straight away we've got his guilt and his fear of this. But the whole be a man vibe doesn't really work anymore, right? Yeah, so again, she criticises him here, right? So, infirm of purpose. Weakling, you little weak man, right? Give me the daggers. Now she says this, the sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. So she says that why would you be scared of an image, right? So Duncan is dead, right? It's like a picture. Only children, so he says you're like a child, right? Only children fear painted devils. But again, she gets this wrong, because if she looks at a dead body, she goes, okay, it's a picture of a dead body, it's not really real, right? Of course, he has the memory of doing the murder. So she tries to almost persuade him that it's not that big a deal, right? Only a child is scared of a painted devil. If he bleeds, I'll gild the face of the grooms withal, it must seem their guilt. So she then goes off, right? So she goes off with the daggers. With the daggers. It must seem their guilt, okay, to frame them. And he's left on his own. And we get a really interesting idea of what his mind is doing, okay, at this point in time. Okay, this is some of the good stuff, by the way. So just to give yourself, if you've slouched a little bit with this, just pick yourself up. This is the good stuff, right? So she goes out and leaves him on his own, right? Covered in blood, feeling pretty bad about what he's done. Whence is that knocking? Huh? Whence is that knocking? How is it with me when every noise appalls me? So he hears knocking. Now this is actually real. This is real, as we learn in the next scene. He hears knocking. How is it that every noise appalls me? So he says, what's happened to me, right? Where he is so easily scared. What hands are here? Ah! They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash the blood clean from my hand? That is a very famous quotation which will star. Will all great Neptune's oceans wash this blood clean from my hands? No. This my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red. So he looks at his hands, right? Ah, what hands are these? They pluck out my eyes. Then he says this. What do you think he means by that? I'm going to talk about this for a second, right? Just 20 seconds. What does he mean? Will all great Neptune's oceans wash the blood clean from my hands? No, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine. Right? Those two words are amazing, which I'll talk about in a second. What do you think he means? So his hands are covered in blood. What does he mean when he says that, do you think? Right, anyone give this a crack? Aurora? One sec. Go on. Very good, yeah. So Neptune is the god of the sea, right? So he says, if I were to wash my hands if I had all the water of the world, and I washed my hands, could I clean the blood off? And you're right. Physically, yes. Right? Physically, it's easy to wash the blood off. Metaphorically, no. So the first part is this. Could I get rid of all the blood from my hands? No. What does this second bit mean? This is harder. I'll tell you what it means, right? So let's do this bit first, right? So Neptune, please circle Neptune. Neptune is the god of the oceans and water. So we'll all grade Neptune's ocean, what's the blood from my hand? So again, there's this idea that physical, again, please write this down, physical blood easily removed, okay? Metaphorical blood, right, aka guilt, is harder, okay? So he says, all the water of the world could not wash away this. Then he says this, no, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine. Now, who does Spanish? What's carne? Meat, right? Meat. So incarnadine means to make like meat, or to make meat coloured. So, in other words, red. So he says this. He says, if I put my hands in the sea will turn red. That's how bad my crime is. That my crime would actually pollute the ocean, right? So he says that his hands would turn all oceans, right? Notice this, multitudinous, all the oceans red. Okay, beautiful word, incarnadine. So I would turn the ocean red. My guilt is corrupting. So the guilt is corrupting. Now, again, remember I told you a little while ago that one of Shakespeare's tricks is because his audience was made up of upper class, middle class, lower class people. A lower class person, don't want to be rude, but they wouldn't understand incarnadine. So what does he do? He repeats it again using simple language, making the green one red. What's green? The sea, right? Red is blood. So he says it twice. He goes, the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green red, making the ocean red. So not only would the sea not wash away his guilt, but his guilt would actually wash away the sea. Again, what's the point of this? It's all about this, right? His guilt. This is how he feels. Re-enter Lady Macbeth. Now this I find super interesting, okay? Because she comes back and she goes, hey, look at me, bloody hands too, right? My hands are also bloody, but I'm not a coward like you, right? I've got blood on my hands, but I'm not acting like you're acting. What's the difference? She goes, I've got blood too. I've got blood as well. Right? She didn't do the murder, right? So she kind of says, we're the same. So my hands are of your colour. So she kind of suggests that they are the same, but of course we know that she hasn't done the murder, right? And earlier on in the scene, she says, I would have done it, but he looked like my father. So she's very happy to make excuses for herself, but then when it's him, she's like, oh look, right? But I shame to wear a heart so white. White, of course, being a symbol of cowardice, right? Of being a coward. Right, that's a massively important line, because his reaction to water, he says that my hand would pollute the water. She says the opposite. She says a little water clears us. Now, clearing here is, of course, two things. One is to absolve, so absolve guilt, but also it is to remove evidence, right? Absolve the guilt and remove the evidence. So she goes, it's not a big deal, right? Wash your hands and the evidence is gone and you are free. How easy is it? Easy. Soft? Easy. How easy is it? Your constancy have left you unattended. Page, please. Last little bit. Go on.
Get up and lie down, lest occasion to rest, go on to be watched. Be not lost in dreaming.
Yeah. So again, the sense about sort of like to forget. So, hark, more knocking. There's more knocking at the gate. This is real knocking, not metaphorical knocking. She hears it as well. Get on your nightgown. Show us to be watchers. So we need to act surprised, right? We need to, when they find the body of the king, we need to be like, whoa, right? Not here being like, Macbeth does sleep no more, because that's guilt, that's suspicious behaviour, right? But whoa, what? Oh my God, the king in our house. Who could have done this terrible thing? To know my deed, 'twere best not to know myself. So he feels a bit lost at this point. Wake, Duncan, with thy knocking. I would thou could. So this is the biggest indicator of his regret, right? Of his regret. Wake, Duncan, with thy knocking. I would thou could. So almost like, would is almost like I wish. God, I really wish that I could. Wake, Duncan, with thy knocking. I would thou